Oh, I did
Uh,
did my jump rope mile yesterday.
so you jump roped for a whole entire mile.
I did. So the way it worked was I marked off a specific. I basically did 26 trips up and back of this strip on my lawn. So I had to do 5 temporary shelters in case of emergency, and just rattled those off real quick. Some of them are just never going to happen. Some of them are pretty easy. Find a cave. Obviously, like if you can do
Right.
that, it's done for you. But like some of them are pretty simple in theory, but I've realized that I've never really built them. So I'm gonna have to try to build them before I get out there. And I think that's the whole point of this type of challenge, right? Is to have you do these things in case you aren't a woodsy person like myself. So it'll be interesting though. I am excited to keep doing these, and I'm going to keep jumping rope, man. I mean, it was not easy for me, by the way, to jump rope a
Dude,
mile.
I can't jump rope. I'm I boxed as a kid and went to a boxing gym, and jumping rope and boxing are like kind of like so intertwined. I think a jump rope is almost as important as boxing gloves to a boxer. I mean, it is just part of the deal. No matter how hard I try, I cannot jump rope. I can't do it. I don't have the timing. Something's off. I can't do it. I think I blame it on my dyslexia. I cannot do it. It's one of the most frustrating things in the entire world to see people do it so easily and so like there was this. I remember this one guy I used to come to the gym. He would just Papa, he would have his headphones on. It just looked like so much fun, And I'm just like, why can't I do this? I just
Yeah,
can't do it.
I was definitely running at certain times, like running and doing it,
Oh wow.
which was making it a little bit easier. But look, I did it in one take. I definitely got blown. I got blown up at one point and was just, whew, like
Whoa.
I had to pause. I don't care. You know what? And I
Yeah,
also
it's
train.
it's a lungful, man, doing
Yeah,
jumping. People don't realize that's not easy.
well, I also trained beforehand. So I was like, because at first I go, I'll just warm up, just so I'm not, and then I'm like, well, since I'm here, and then I start, loading weight on the trap bar, start doing some deadlifts. I start to, it just ends up being this full blown workout for 40 minutes, and then I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go do this now.
Jump
So,
rope.
so I was already like, oh god,
So much for the warm up, right?
yeah,
So
man. So
when
you got,
well, getting back, I want to touch on your shelter thing. When we used to rock climb, when we would go to Yosemite Valley for the summer, if you got more than a 2 week permit to to be in the park, you had to trade off working search and rescue. You had to work for the park,
okay,
because look, we were climbers. We know how to use ropes and tackle and stuff. So they, moved us around doing search and rescue. And once you become part of search and rescue, you're availed to the different courses that you can offer. You can go take this or take that or whatever. And there was a survival course that I
hmm
took. And the survival course was cool because at the end of the course, they take you in a helicopter and throw you out at, somewhere in the middle of the forest, and you have to make it back in 5 days. And
that's
if
cool.
you don't, they come look for you.
I mean, that's
So
pretty cool.
yeah, so the thing with shelter is that there's basic things they teach you to survive. One, of course, fire, water, and shelter. Those are the three things that you have to have. You can
Mhm.
do without food for a long time, but you cannot do without water for very long. And you gotta find some shelter. If it's cold or raining, you'll die of hypothermia. So
Right.
the shelter thing is really interesting because there's so much out there that you can make a shelter out of if you pay attention to it and you watch the animals. What do the animals do? So you see the little nooks and crannies where they hide. You can see the grass is matted down or the brushes, arranged in such a way. So you can get underneath certain little canopies. You can fell a tree and carve the branches out from underneath and pile them on top. That's a really great one I used to like. And you can even just use a blanket and a couple of sticks and arrange it in a way to make a tent. There's all
Right.
kinds of ways to do it. So,
hmm
you just have to have what you have if you're going to bring anything with you, like a tarp, a blanket, or whatever that's going to serve as your means of creating shelter, and figure out all the different ways to use it. There's even one, I remember buying a tarp that had 10 different variations of shelters you could make with it right on the label, so I mean, the possibilities are out there. It's just, you got to be really creative and think outside the box.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I didn't want to pretend like I was going to build some, mansion or some structure. It's an emergency situation that you're supposed to be looking at, right? So that makes sense to be able to just make it, so you can remain safe from elements, safe from animals if you need to, or just even hunker down, whether it's maybe it's a nasty storm like you just got hit with. And so yeah, it was good, and that was the thing. It's some stuff I didn't normally do, so
Right.
I have to put into practice. Like I also am going to continue to keep working on my fire making, and I'm going to do some knots too. I got to learn knots.
Knots are easy, man. You only need a couple of them.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, dude, what's the one? Golly, I'm going to forget the name.
Square knot's the basic one. You got to know how to make that. Half hitch, loop. I would suggest getting 2 different color pieces of twine, string, rope, whatever. Thin rope works the best.
Yeah.
That polypropylene rope you get in the hardware store. It looks like climbing rope, only it's thin.
Yeah, it's the paracord, right?
Paracord. Get 2 different colors. So when you get 2 different colors, you can see the knot better. So you can know, the left over the right, this goes around through
that's
the
a good
loop,
idea.
Yeah, get 2 different colors and that'll totally help you. And understand in what situations would you need a knot for? What are you going to do? And practice those, because there's a million knots. I mean, there's some of those sailing books have like 150 different knots, and you don't need them. There's just a couple of basic ones that you'll need, and realize that you can make them in the middle of the rope. It always doesn't have to be at the end.
Yeah, the one I use, the one I know how to use, and I use it most often, even if I don't need it, is the bowline knot.
Bowline, yeah.
But that's kind of the only one I know, so I'm almost forced to use it because my knowledge is so limited. But just like you said, you have dyslexia. Well, I have a problem visualizing certain things sometimes. Like when it comes to, even when I was doing things with martial arts, it was like, okay, here's how to step or whatever. And I would get so confused or wrapped up in my head. Even when I play football, I'd be like, okay, you're going to take 2 steps, then you're going to cut. And it would take me a while to understand it. So it happens the same way with knots.
I imagine you don't dance very well either, do you?
I practiced so hard for the first dance that my wife and I did. We took lessons and everything. And it was
really,
we practiced a lot, and it was cool, but man, it was frustrating for me. She was much better at it than me. Picked it up easier. But, you got a question from Terminator Juice.
Cool.
Questions for John. When you competed in bodybuilding, what diet worked the best for you? Was it keto, low fat, high carb, etc.? And did you experiment with insulin?
Oh man, that's a good question. Yes to everything. Yeah, insulin. Let's take insulin first, since that's everybody's Pandora's box. Insulin is one of those things that is either going to work or it's not. And unfortunately, not working is the opposite of working. So working means you're going to lose fat and gain muscle. Not working is you're going to lose muscle and gain fat. Okay, so I don't think I lost any muscle, but I gained fat. I got so much body fat off of my insulin use that it was one of those amazing. And I had Milos Sarcev's protocol, so I knew Milos Sarcev's protocol approved by Dan Duchesne. So there is no doubt in my mind that's how you use insulin. I'm just not a candidate for insulin use, and a lot of you guys also are not. So you have to determine by trial and error, of course, if you are, predisposed to insulin use or not. If you are, great. If you're not, stay away from it. So that's obvious choice number one. The diet that worked best for me, honestly, is calorie restriction. I've been on keto. I've been on high carb, low carb, high fat, low fat, high protein, low. I've done every one of them. And it always comes down to the same thing. And everybody argues with me, but it's the honest to God's truth. It's calories in, calories out. That's it. Anybody who wants to tell you, oh, you can eat protein, you can eat steak all day and you're going to get shredded. No, you're not. I did it. I ate steak every day for a month and I got fat. It's calories in, calories out. You have to burn the calories that you have to overburn the calories that you put in. You have to burn what you eat plus whatever you're storing. So
well, let me play devil's advocate for that then,
okay.
because I'm actually curious. When you say like people argue with you, what is their argument? I'll try to take it up, even if I don't necessarily believe it, but I'll at least try to get some answers out of you so we can hopefully get some clarity.
Sure. It's the macro counters. They say, oh, well, if you're eating all protein, you can't get fat. It's just not true. It's just not true. So then there's the high carb, no low protein. If you eat no protein and all carbs, you're going to get ripped. No, you're not. You're going to get fat. If you eat more than you burn, you're going to get fat. Your body stores the calories as fat. That's what it does. You're not going to rewrite human physiology by some scientific idea that's, been sort of half proven with a fixed, study. So it doesn't work. What you will notice, and it's really odd that people mount this argument that calorie restriction doesn't work. All you got to do is look at pictures of any concentration camp during World War II, and you will see that calorie restriction makes you skinny. Period. End of story. So all of the fads that are counter to calories in, calories out, and I know absolute brilliant scientists that argue this point. They argue this point that you cannot overeat protein. It's just not true. Try it. Try it. Go eat steak, ribeyes, 3 or 4 meals a day, every day for a month. See what happens to you. You are not going to get shredded.
I don't really know what else to ask about playing devil's advocate. So forget that. I'll just say I got the clarity, because I guess it's also what you said, right? So you're talking about like the if it fits your macros crowd. Is that the type of is that okay?
It's so nonsensical. Bottom line is, in order to build muscle, your body needs amino acids in the proper amounts all over your body. The only way to do that is to eat protein or supplement protein. You also need energy. You're going to get energy from either consumed carbohydrates, consumed fat, or stored body fat, or glucose that your body turns the glucose that your body makes from protein via a process called gluconeogenesis if you need it. It's pretty much ongoing. But if you have a deficit of glucose coming in, your body will compensate by converting protein. And it'll get it no matter what you do. So if it needs it and you don't have it on board, it's going to catabolize lean tissue and make it from your own body. So you have to eat what your body needs. So the macro counters are all running around in a tizzy trying to figure out how many macros are carbohydrates, proteins, or fat. How
Right.
many of what are those are you going to eat, and what combination to satisfy your body's needs and create a deficit for fat loss? It doesn't matter. You have to have protein for your body to grow and repair. Have to have it. You have to have an energy source, or your body's going to take it from protein. So you need protein and you need an energy source, either fat or carbohydrates or a combo of both. If you don't have those, your body's going to revolt and you're not going to be happy.
Is it just, we've talked about this before, but is this where people just make things over, where we know in theory what to do, but then we're also trying to make sure it's as, and I hate the word, but optimized or whatever as best we can. So we're always trying to tweak it. And it's kind of like going back to the foundational compound movements and exercise. Like you can find different ways to add and make them cooler, sexier, whatever. But at the same time, it really comes down to the same things, like you said. You got to eat real food, eat high quality foods, eat a lot of foods, and eat the foods that are going to fit your goals. But man, sometimes when people get into these conversations with me outside of this, it gets a little exhausting, because I'm like, dude, you're worried about all this, but yet you're still eating Skittles, on weekends. So it's like, you know what to do, you just don't want to do it, and that's fine.
Right.
But just if that's the case, then just let it go. Okay, next
Well,
question.
wait. Before the
Yeah.
next question,
Oh, I'm
there's the
sorry.
opposite. There's the opposite of that too. Okay,
Right.
so there's person in the gym, in the gym I go to. They're
Mhm.
trying to be a competitor. They stand around posing in between sets, all wrong, and and they eat. I was told by them, just came right out of their mouth. I only eat chicken and rice.
Hmm.
Well, okay, you're obviously eating too much chicken and rice if that's all you're eating because you're fat. So if you've been eating chicken and rice for a year and you haven't lost any body fat, in fact, you've gained body fat, I'm going to tell you it's not the chicken and rice, it's the amount of chicken and rice that you're
Right.
eating. So you're overeating. If you're maintaining or adding body fat, you're eating too much. Period. So
Right.
there's no getting around that. There's no, oh, cool, I'll just cut out the carbs and eat more protein. No, it's not going to work.
All right. Cool.
Sorry.
Okay, Terminator Juice. I'll get to that one next. But we got Subhedge is up first, and
Mhm.
he wants to know: is Sustanon a great test starter?
No, for the beginner, for somebody just starting out.
Yeah. Let's start with that since he didn't really specify. So yeah,
Well,
let's say for a beginner.
well, let's first start off by stating that there are steroids and there are androgens, and they're different. Yet they all get lumped into the steroid column. Testosterone is an androgen because it's more androgenic than it is anabolic. So what that means is it carries more male characteristics than it doesn't. So your body produces testosterone. So ostensibly, the easiest drug for your body to deal with is testosterone because it has all
Hmm.
the processes necessary to
Right.
process it. Okay, so yeah, testosterone is a great thing. The problem with Sustanon is that it is a blend of four testosterones, and the ester that's attached. An ester is the name of the testosterone. So, for
Right.
example, enanthate, cypionate, phenylpropionate, decanate. Those are all esters that are attached to the testosterone molecule.
Right.
And what they do is they slow down or speed up or regulate, actually is a better word. They regulate the absorption rate of the testosterone from the injection site. So it's in your bloodstream. The ester keeps it, you know, slow moving or fast moving, depending on what the case may be. The shorter the ester, the faster acting the testosterone, the more powerful it is, the bigger effect you're going to get. Also, consequently, the more you need to pin it. So if you want frequent injections like every other day, then Sustanon is a great drug for you. But if you're not willing to take a shot every other day, and that becomes problematic if you're really not married to this as a competitor, because you run out of injection sites, and it's a literal pain in the ass to keep finding pain in the shoulder, pain in the belt, tricep, wherever you're going to stick it. So you got to be wary of that. I would always recommend a single ester testosterone for the beginner, coupled with a milder steroid to offset the androgenic effect of the testosterone and increase the anabolic effect by adding the steroid. So, for example, Deca and Sustanon. That's a great first beginner cycle because Deca is a pretty, I wouldn't call it actually mild. It just has fewer side effects and it's less harsh on your body than something like trenbolone. So it's also slower acting.
So
You have
well,
to
when
take
you say
fewer
when you
injections.
say less harsh on the body, let's just before we move forward because I want to know the rest. Okay, when you say that, what do you mean? So when you take trenbolone compared to Deco, what's going to be the difference? How you feel?
Trenbolone tends to offer more psychological side effects than almost any
Okay,
other drug.
got it.
It's called divorce in a bottle for a reason. Uh, um,
Got it.
sorry. Never do tren without telling your wife or girlfriend or significant other. Don't do it. It's not fair because your thought processes are going to go haywire. You're going to think about things that don't exist. You're going to make shit up. You're going to dwell on stuff that's not there and aggravate you. You're going to get super short fused. If you are at all like that naturally, trenbolone is not a drug for you. Deca, on the other hand, has almost no psychological side effects. It's really kind of smooth. You take it and your joints feel good. That doesn't dry your joints out. Some of the other compounds do dry your joints out, like Winstrol really dries them out. So you have joint lubrication, mild psychological effect, pretty decent anabolic effect, and very little in terms of acne or any of the other side effects that you get with, steroids. So small amount of testosterone coupled with a small amount of Deca every week. And if you're a beginner, if you don't get results off of that, you're not going to.
Okay. All right. So then basically, here's what I'm trying to get at. So I've been open that I'm on, doing testosterone replacement, and I'm just taking SIP. So and I'm feeling way better than I did, right? But you're saying to get to competitor level, I would have to add some of these other things, is what you mean?
I wouldn't say competitor level, higher level. Okay, there's levels of everything. I mean, you can drink wine or you can drink tequila. I mean, they're both alcohol, right? So one has a harsher effect on your body, the other one doesn't. Actually, the other one's kind of healthy. So, you got to look at it from that prism. The thing with androgenic or ergogenic effect, assisted, where you're assisted by something, ergogenic effect is based on, number one, your body's propensity to deal with these compounds and what their effect is. I can take Deca and you can take Deca, and you and I are going to talk about it and possibly have a different experience. Maybe we'll have the same experience. It just depends on your makeup and how you work. But if you want to push the envelope in terms of performance, strength-wise, you definitely would want to add a steroid to the testosterone. So it just creates a bigger, more potent anabolic environment for your body to take advantage of.
Yeah.
There's only so far you can go. I mean, you can pump enough drugs into you that nothing's going to work. So
I want to be like a blimp where I take off and just float away. I'd be so jacked up with substances.
Well, that's a funny thing that you say that, because it's in a lot of guys, girls too, psyche, is that you have to do all these drugs and eat all this food and get huge in order for you to whittle that down into a competitor's physique. And it's just not true. If you gain 60 pounds of fat, you're going to have to lose 60 pounds of fat if you're going to compete, because you can't compete with 60 pounds of fat, right? So
yeah,
you're going to have to lose it. So all these guys walking around a big bloated 240 are going to end up competing at 185, and you're going to get loose skin. You're going to, disillusion yourself because you're not as big as you thought you were. It's a train wreck.
Are you coughing?
Yeah, I got in the morning, man. I get so congested. So what I'm hitting this button. I'm hitting the off button.
I could tell. No, I was like, I could tell. Listen, I appreciate that. I mean, as much as I love to hear you cough up a loogie, it's nice to be able to mute it.
I'm trying to be considerate.
So we'll switch to James. James, hey man, first time I feel like you've commented, so thanks for hanging, dude. He's got a question. His buddies on TRT gave me some testosterone gel. He likes it, but I heard there's some absorption issues. I've never used it before, know nothing about pinning. Listen, I know exactly where John is going to go with this, so I can lead off, and also I will tell you this: before I got my blood work done, I spoke to John about the different options ad nauseum, actually, because I wanted to make sure that if and when I had to, get on TRT, that it was, the right way. And injections, hands down, every expert I've spoken to have said that the injections are the way to go. And I refuse to use gel. They tried to, they were like, oh, we'll give you some, they had like a pill. They were like, oh, you could take that. And I said, nope. Like, oh, it's cheaper. I don't care. If I'm going to do it, I want to do it right. And, but yeah, I mean, John, you've probably had this question for years or decades at this point, right?
Absolutely. It's probably one of the most common questions asked. But look, all of those options are exactly what they are, options. And just like you're optioning out the car you're buying, certain options create greater effects than other options. Okay, so the idea that you're going to transdermally absorb testosterone into your bloodstream, just that statement alone is fraught with difficulties. I mean, how are you going to get the testosterone to pass through
Right.
your skin and into the blood barrier through the cell walls and into the bloodstream? How are you going to do that? Well, they add DMSO to it. They add other transdermal, iontophoresis properties, and you get some transference of the drug into your bloodstream. How much? Who knows? You can put the cream on, and I can put the cream on. We're gonna have two different results because our bodies are different. So, with injecting a drug, you pull out 200 milligrams, you stick in 200 milligrams, you're getting 200 milligrams. You cannot say that about a patch, the cream, a pill, nothing that's got to go through a pass through your body. First pass through the liver or pass through your skin or whatever. Any of that is going to impede the absorption of what you're trying to put in. So think about it the other way. Imagine putting on suntan lotion. Okay? How much of the suntan lotion is going to pass through your skin into your bloodstream?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Yep.
Some, none, a little. Who knows? All right, do you know? Well, you're putting it on your skin. Is there anything in it that's going to help it pass through the skin into the bloodstream? We don't know. I mean, you don't know what your body's going to do with this stuff. So, if you want to be sure you're getting 200 milligrams of X
Hmm.
injected, that's the best way to do it. If you guys want to be bodybuilders and you want to be big and strong, you can't be afraid of a little needle. You just can't. It's part of the deal. It's part of the deal. If you want to compete at a high level and take drugs, you got to get used to the injection. It's no other way around it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't love it.
No,
I'm not
no
a
one does.
competitor, but I don't love it. But it's at the same time, as you said, the alternative is me feeling worse, and that's not happening. So
Right.
I will absolutely take efficiency, and it's not even discomfort. There's times where, the other day, my wife helped me out and gave me my shot, and she totally went a little high, and there was definitely some blood popping out. But you know what? That's part of the game, and it's not like it was. It's not like it hurt. It was just once you absorb it, it's gone. It's more of an
Yeah.
annoyance, if anything. But again, I would remembering how I was feeling to where I've come. There's no way it's
No.
well worth it. So I can't even imagine as a competitor who is like listening to these protocols that you said, where they're going to be not only feeling better, stronger, and seeing improvements. So I don't know. I mean, I totally understand. You might as well do it the efficient way, man.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like there seems to be this faction of competitors and devotees, let's call them, of this industry that needlessly overcomplicate almost everything. So if you got to screw a nut on a bolt, I'm the guy who screws the nut on the bolt. They're the ones who take the bolt to Japan to put this special lubricant on it and come all the way back to America, go through customs, get it taken away from them, argue to get it back, go to court, come back. Finally, 7 months later, they got to drop a lubricant they put on the nut to screw on the bolt. At the end of the day, the nut's on the bolt.
Yeah.
That's all you got to worry about. But no, let's go do it this way. So it's just a pain in the ass. We got to take a break real quick.
Yeah, just go ahead. I'll hang because I'll just talk about Strong New York real quick,
I'll be 2
and,
minutes.
and I'll be here. All right, so John will come right back, and yeah, I got to get to your question about the Terminator juice. I'll get to that one too. I know you wanted to ask a follow up, and I'll get to that. Just so you guys know, this weekend is Strong New York. Frank Sepe and I will be there. Frank had to do some stuff today, but it's pretty cool if you're in the area in New York. I don't know why it does that. Why does it do? It puts it like on a green screen. Oh, I want to scream. Anyway, but if you guys are in the area, it's in New York. If I had any type of preparation, I would tell you where it is because I don't know. But it's pretty cool. I went once in 2019. I ate a bad egg sandwich and got violently ill afterwards. So I'm hoping this time will be better. But Frank and I are going to have a setup there. We're going to be, I think we're going to broadcast live if we can get an internet connection. If not, we're going to collect a bunch of interviews. There's going to be a lot of people there. Obviously, we're trying to see. I don't think we're going to train. I don't want to train. There's going to be nowhere to shower. You know what I mean? I live in Jersey. The last thing I want to do is go to New York, get all sweaty, and have to sit there all day and stink. Oh, God. So I won't do that. I'll probably just go hang out. And yeah, but it's pretty cool. It is really cool. So go there. If not, Kenny Santucci, who owns the Strength Club in New York, he runs it. Solid dude, and it'll be fun. So top 5 Olympia predictions. Oh man, it's kind of, these are always rough, right? Because okay, why don't you give yours first, James? But that's always a tough question. It's also, I don't know if I'm qualified to even provide an answer. That's why it's like I try to shy away from those prediction stuff. John's more tapped into the, that scene than I am. I'm there peripherally and I'm always watching. But when I have a bodybuilding question, typically I just bring it to him. So as far as the prediction goes, I'll leave that to John.
Oh, is this a prediction who's going to win the Olympia question?
How did you know?
Oh, okay.
I know you hate those questions.
Everybody asks, why is this camera? Hold on. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I can zoom and I can change it for you. All right.
This is the weirdest design of anything I've ever seen.
It's also probably the angle that I'm using, but sorry.
Okay, so who's going to win the Olympia? The reason why I despise that question is because it's like saying, who out of the top 10 do you like the best? Who's your best friend up there? Because I don't know what you look like. I don't know what the top 10 guys look like. Nobody knows what the top 10 guys look like. You don't know who's going to show up in shape. You don't know who's going to show up out of shape. You don't know who's going to drop out at the last minute. You don't know who's going to come in at the last minute. So how can I ever possibly ask that question? Unless you ask me, who do I want to win the Olympia? That's a different story. I can answer that.
Who do you want to win? Let's start there.
Who do I want to win?
Yeah.
Me. I want to be Mr. Olympia.
Well, I think you got a shot. I think if we buckle down between now and the next week and a half, I think you got it, dude. I think you're in.
So then you got which division? Classic, Open, 212. I mean, who do you want? So who do I want? I really don't care. I mean, what I want, this is what I want. I want 10 guys. I want 10 guys to show up at 100%. That's what I want, especially the top 5. I want 100%. I don't want to sit there in the audience at the 60th anniversary of the Olympia, in pretty close to the front stage where I'm going to have a really good seat, and sit there and look at a bunch of flabby guys that missed the mark, out of shape, watery, spilling over. I don't want to see that shit. You guys are the top guys in the entire world. You're vying for Mr. Olympia. I want to see you all at 100%. That's what I want to see. And at 100%, I will enjoy the show.
All right, there you go. John's going to win. When everyone's 100%. Okay, that makes sense. Myers, M. Myers, that he's got Derek, and then James has Hottie. So look, it's the...
how do you come to that? How do you, by what metric are you measuring that? How?
I think
how do you get that?
I think it's this. I think that they're saying if everyone comes in spot on or at their best, this is who they believe is going to take it. So I look, and I think that's good for the sport, good for the event, because it shows that people care. But yeah, I'm the same way. Listen, how many times? Who was it? Was it Nick last year that got injured and he got taken? Like, that's the thing. Like, you never know what's going to happen at this stuff. And there's been times where people look fantastic going in, and then something happens and they fall apart. So, there's.
I look at it like kind of like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're gonna get too far away from the point. I look at it kind of like auto racing. Motorcycle racing. Let's take MotoGP since I'm a fanatic. Who do I want
Okay.
to win? This race this weekend. Mark Marquez, Pecco Bagnaia. Who's all that means is who is my favorite rider?
Right.
That's what that means.
Of
So,
course.
what's his name? Derek Lunsford and Hadi Choopan are both Mr. Olympia. One won last year, one won the year before. So how can you say I have Hadi over Derek? Well, okay, you can have Hadi over Derek. Hadi's been over Derek, or you can say Derek over Hadi. Derek's been over Hadi. So you're not rewriting history here. You're recapping what you liked. You're recapping, or you care to recap an outcome that you liked. That's basically what it comes down to. So if
But
you
there's
think
okay, but also sorry to interrupt you, but also it could be that they're, watching social media and seeing what's posted, although we've talked about how that can be deceiving and that can also be used as a psychological tool for competition. But look, but also look, if I were competing, that's what I would want to do. I would want to make everybody think, oh my God, this guy, I can't beat him. I might as well quit. Or, hey, I might get more fans and then they'll show up and they'll cheer louder for me. So it's, again, I've never competed. I never will. But I think there is a lot more, especially now going into this. It's like you want to build that momentum and you want people to be on your team. Yeah, I don't know. It's like if it were me, I would like set up me like having to save a baby from like a building or something. So like people be like, holy shit! Not only is he going to compete on the Mr. Olympia, he's also a hero. Look at him. He has to win.
he has to, there's no two ways about it. It's really it's almost like there's something that gets in between your brain and your eyes that throw you off because you like this person. So I really want Derek to win. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, I look at Derek on stage and he looks better to me than he really is because I want him to win. It's like confirmation bias, And I remember the years when Ronnie Coleman was winning Olympia after Olympia after Olympia, 8 in a row. It was almost boring to go to the Olympia because Ronnie's going to win. And what you do is you actually in your mind make Ronnie look worse than he is because you want the other guy to win. So
Right.
There's a psychological element to it that's really bizarre, and I see it in different sports as well. Team sports especially. My Yankees have got to win. And it's like it doesn't matter what your Yankees are going to do. What matters is the score on the board. That's what's going to tell you who wins. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, we don't have that in bodybuilding. We have a purely subjective scoring standard that just comes down to an opinion. That's really what it is. And we all have opinions. So it's a contest of who has the most common opinion is what it really comes down to.
All right, let's switch gears because Terminator Juice had a follow-up from his other one. He said, if you're in a calorie deficit but on a cycle, can you still burn muscle, or will the cycle protect your muscle, like a simple cycle such as test only 500 milligrams?
Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to calories in, calories out. All right, muscle growth is a response to stress. So if you're forced to pick this up, where is it? There. If you're forced to pick that up and the weight of it is almost more than you can bear, and you have to pick it up 50 times in a row, and you can't do it, and you can only get to 30, the next time you try it, you might get to 32. You might get to 40. Okay. Why? What's happening? Your body's adapting. Your body is adapting to this stress that you're putting it under. You're forcing your body to move an object that's heavier than you can move. So if you put yourself in that situation, the only remedy your body has to survive is to adapt. And your body does that in all kinds of situations. If you're too cold, if you're too hot, if you're too hungry, your body creates signals and adaptations that lets you know that this situation isn't right. We got to fix it. But in the meantime, we got to survive. So living is more important than anything else. Under those circumstances, your body will do what it's got to do to survive. So if you're in a calorie deficit and you have steroids and androgens on board and you're forcing your body into a stress situation, you'll probably maintain muscle mass at the expense of body fat because your body's got to get the energy from somewhere, but it's not going to make glucose out of fat. It doesn't do that. So you'll burn fatty acids, but if you need that glucose energy source for your brain, for nervous system, whatever, your body is going to get it. It's going to get it from either catabolizing lean protein or from whatever you're feeding it. Somehow your body's going to get what it needs. Or it's going to go into a shutdown mode where you're going to have like no results at all because your body's shutting down to try to survive. So there's a calorie deficit that is definitely aided by what, substances you're taking, steroids, androgens, growth hormone, whatever, will definitely help you reserve muscle. But a prolonged period of calorie deficit is going to cause you to lose muscle because your body is going to survive.
All right. I got to tell you, you lost me there. Just because, just because I was so focused on something and then I started answering a comment, but I was like, you know what? You had me at going to survival mode. I'm like, I think we can. That's something everybody can get behind. Is
well, I mean, look at it this way. I'm trying to. There's no easy analogy. It's a simple matter of what your body is forced to do. Right. So it's really easy. You can lay on a couch and do nothing and be in a calorie deficit. And we have nothing to worry about. Okay, but if you're trying to produce power to move something, you have to rely on the strength that your body can muster from the available musculature and the available amount of energy you can produce to push the muscle. So you ever have a weak day in the gym? Okay, I lifted that last week, but I can't lift it this week. Did you lose muscle? No, you're just not as strong today because you don't have enough energy on board. You didn't lose anything. Over a prolonged period of time, yes, that's where the drugs come in. The drugs definitely help you retain muscle mass at the expense of calories, but over time, if you don't add those calories, you're going to lose, no matter what you take.
All right. All right, cool. I think that answers it.
Yeah, you got it.
But going back to Olympia, yeah, I'm excited, man, that we get to hang out. It's nice when I get to see John in person. This is the most content I get with John is like this. So when I actually get to hang out with him, it's it's nice because it's so weird. I talk to you a lot every week, and I feel like I know you, and I feel like we're close, and then I realize I don't actually ever see him. So
we've only met one person one time.
I know. Yeah. John was so overwhelmed. He was like, "This is it." No, but it was. Look, it's cool, and that's kind of what I guess when you've gone to a lot of these. Yeah, the competition is obviously the draw, and there's always interesting things that you can find at the expos. But when you've been in an industry like this for so long, that becomes part of the big draw. Is getting to see people that you don't often get to see. Catching up with them. And not only that, it does help unearth new opportunities. And that's why anybody that, and there's also ways to go about it. We've talked about where if you say, I'm going to go and I'm going to get noticed at this expo, I'm going to walk around with just a floss up my ass and just, no shirt. Dude, let me tell you, you will get attention, but probably not the one you want. And also, if you're trying to pitch something, elevator pitch it. Don't sit there and try to give somebody this presentation. That's happened to me more times than I can count. And I try to be as polite as possible. I am polite. And, there's probably to a fault. I try to be professional. But there's times where it's just like, look, I've had to tell people, like, look, this just isn't the time to go through your whole deck. I don't want you to go through every slide here.
I will say this, though, germane to the point you just made, we see each other like this. Yeah. We see a lot of each other just like this. I mean, I got 20 guys I can list off the top of my head. I never see my other podcasts. Those guys are like brothers to me. I've known them for 30 years or more. I never see them ever, almost never, except like this. So when you go to the Olympia or the Arnold or any of the giant shows that we all go to, it's almost like, because we're bodybuilders or in this industry, there is definitely, we are definitely an offshoot of society. We are a fringe element. Okay, we're not generally accepted by the norm. Okay, so when you go to a place that's infested with us, you kind of feel good. It's like, I'm among my brothers. It's like I can relax now. I don't have to put on any airs that I'm a bodybuilder or that I have. No one's gonna make fun of me because I have a short sleeve shirt on, except that I'm too small. Rather than the opposite, where you out in public with a tank top and you're ostracized because you have muscles. But the fat dude just is no one even pays attention. So there is a calming element to being among our own, and that's what I really love about the Olympia. I love being at the expo, walking around, seeing people I haven't seen all year, saying hi, getting my people love getting their picture taken with you. And, I love all that stuff. So that's being part of the community. And there's really nowhere else to do that other than the places we travel to be part of the deal, So I look forward to it for that reason.
Yeah. By the way, I put if anybody's interested, I put the link to tickets, whether you want to try to get tickets to the show, which is probably sold out, or the expo.
Definitely sold out.
Yeah,
I heard there's places that have like scalpers. They're not scalpers, ticket agents. You want to call them? I call them scalpers.
Wow.
If you buy a ticket and try to resell it, you're a scalper. I don't care.
Right, there's like SeatGeek, there's SeatGeek, StubHub. There's a bunch of them. Even Ticketmaster allows you now to transfer your ticket purchases. So some people then jack up the prices. So that's I don't have the patience to do that. I did that once. When it was, what was it? It was Fish comes for New Year's every year, and we got, I think we ended up getting 32 tickets in total because we entered a lottery. And I was like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do with all this? So thankfully, my buddy was able to get rid of them for me. But I mean, for me, it wasn't about making money. I just said, get rid of them at face value. I don't want to make money. I'm just trying to, I wanted to make sure that we had enough for our group, and that's it. Yep. So we did that. I would say this too for me is these expos have become something different because for so long when I first started going, it was very, it was kind of at the beginning of the social media boom here. So it was very like almost as a writer editor, I was behind the scenes guy. So, right. And then as it progressed, I'd say probably at 2018 is when I started to actually do podcasts and actually get content and start to be a part of it. Now, I don't think I'm certainly not like, no one's going to buy a ticket to see me. Trust me. I get that. Like, I'm not a draw, but it has been different to me because it's like, well, if I'm going to be there and we're going to do stuff, I do have to at least, try to reach out to people and let them know rather than kind of before where it would just be, I'd run into them when I'm there. So it's definitely become something different and more of a content hub in the sense because you can get enough that should sustain you for a very long time. Depending on if you have a big team or not. Last year we have tons of stuff, and it's just different types of media. We used to get a million photo shoots. Remember that? We'd have to go. Yeah. You'd probably did them for MD. We did them for Flex and Muscle. We would go have 20, 30 people over 2 days, and it was exhausting. But now there's just fewer places to put those. So, and also everyone's taking pictures on their phone. So unless it's some stylized shoot or something specific, it doesn't happen as often. So it's definitely morphed and evolved, and whether you think that's for the better or worse, I guess is up for debate. But it's become something different.
When I was with MD, I used to scalp my tickets every year.
Oh yeah,
because I got the pass, the necklace. Yeah. Okay, so I was never idle sitting down. I was always backstage, running around, interviews, finding people for photo shoots, comments, quotes, talking to people, taking pictures. I never sat down. So I'm thinking, I have a VIP package. I'm going to sell this thing because I never would use it. I would never sit in my seat. I think I used one of the tickets out of the package one time. So I would just staying outside, and I would sell them for less than face value because I just wanted to get rid of them, put some cash in my pocket, and there was
Yeah.
never a problem selling it. So
Yeah, that's different. When you're not putting up any money up front, that's different. Like, yeah, you'll take the discount, you get rid of it for whatever. But when you end up paying, because I think my wife and I both got hit with those tickets, and it was something like, it was like $2 or $3 each, and it was like,
yeah, it ain't
what are we
cheap.
gonna do here? No, it was like, but yeah, there was times where we had, man, there'd be like envelopes full of these VIP tickets,
Yeah.
and people wouldn't show up, and they would just sit around. And I was like, man, it's not that there was the bandwidth to do it, but somebody could have easily gone out and been like, hey,
Sure.
just collect some extra loot there. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm
excited.
really looking forward to it because I didn't go last year for whatever
I know,
reason.
which I was bummed about, and I didn't even think about it. We've talked about that. I really didn't. I thought that you had already been taken care of because other people were already taken care of. So it was my fault for not following up.
No worries. I mean, this is the year I would have not wanted to miss. I mean, this is the 60th anniversary. This is going to be a big deal. I think every living Mr. Olympia is going to be there to, get up on stage and take a bow. It's going to be one. I just think it's going to be just the industry itself. I mean, to think that this thing is 60 years old and it never missed. It never missed from the first Olympia in 1965. It accomplished itself every single solitary year after that. Only the NFL and the NBA have done the same thing for that amount of time. No other sport on the face of the earth has gone on uninterrupted for 60 years except those three. So, I mean, the world championship of any particular sport, it's only the NFL, the NBA, and bodybuilding that can lay claim to an uninterrupted 60-year run. So this is a big deal. If you're into this sport and you're a bodybuilding fan, this year is a big deal.
It is, and there's also a prop bet out there. I don't know if you knew this, that whether or not John Romano is going to streak across the stage at some point. Will it be during prejudging or finals? We don't know, but
Was streaking ever big when you were younger?
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, it was when I think it first started in the 70s when I was a teenager, and I just remember people saying, "Come, let's go to this ball game. We're going to streak," and I'm like, that has no appeal to me whatsoever.
I always thought about this. I'm like, where do you go after that? Like,
exactly. You run through the baseball field with naked, and then what? You have somebody waiting with a towel for you at the other side. I mean,
or you get tackled. You get tackled by some sweaty security guard, and then you have to. Yeah, but then you have like grass stains, and you got to get. So like, it's just what's going on here. I don't know. Yeah, I think I was probably dared to do that a bunch of times, and I'm pretty sure each time I was like, I don't think so. I don't think it's for me.
I just did not find. It's like skinny dipping. It's like, oh, let's take our clothes off and jump in the pool. Why? What's the, are we all going to have group sex? I mean, what's the point? So I don't know. Maybe I'm a prude. I don't know, but I'd like to know your opinion out there, guys. I mean, how many of you have a propensity to want to go streak or skinny dip or otherwise expose yourself to the public?
When I was younger, high school, I think I skinny dipped once in like a river, and I was with my then girlfriend, and we were in there just kind of swimming around, and then I was like, hey, what if we get like some sort of infection? Let's get out of here. Like, what am I doing? I don't know what's in that river.
Like your bathing suit would block out otherwise.
Yeah, I know, but in my head, I'm just like thinking about all of the critters and all the things I could be stepping on or could be swimming up inside of everything. And I'm like, so we both kind of looked at each other and we're like, yeah, let's get out of here. What are we doing here?
There is truth to that. In going back to my survival school, they taught us do not pee in the water because while you're peeing, your urethra's open and there's things that can swim upstream against your urine flow and end up embedding in your bladder, your kidneys, or wherever, and cause you problems. So yeah, there's critters in the water that can bother you if you put yourself in that situation. But your bathing suit's not going to block them out.
Few things make my knees as weak as thinking about things leaping up into a pee hole.
Oh,
Just like,
yeah.
like that's the thing. Like when
That's
I
just
watch any horror movie, I see that it's over. I'm like, oh, you got me.
yeah. There's weirdos that like that shit, but not me.
No, me neither. And you said it. Maybe we're prudes, but I don't. But yeah, I never got that either. I look, and I get there are some people that are very, like there's whole colonies, there's nudist colonies, and there's nude beaches, and fine, like if you're into it. But yeah, I never got it at just running through a baseball game or like a football game, especially at one of those big games where you're gonna I think you get a pretty heavy fine.
Yeah, you go to jail. It's trespassing. It's like they hit you with everything. But
no way,
if
dude.
you want to get naked, there's all kinds of places to do it. There's nude beaches. They even have nude cruises. They have Virgin has a topless sunbathing area on their ship for adult only cruises. So I know a lot about cruises now because I'm taking one in January. So I'm well versed in the cruise community now. So I can. They have swingers cruises. They have nudist cruises. They have. If you're a deviant in any way, shape, or form, you can find an activity that'll cater to you. It's absolutely astounding.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be at a baseball game. It doesn't have to be at the World Series or whatever. But some people do it for clout, internet clout, or social media clout. Like they want to be recognized, and maybe they think it's gonna launch something. But I don't even know. Has anybody even known? Has anybody even known anybody that's done that, and then it has paid off for them? Because
yeah, that's a good question.
I can't think about after. I can't remember anybody's name, but I'm sure if they're gonna apply to a job and you look them up, and they're the person that jumped from the upper deck at Dodger Stadium just to flash their wiener.
I mean, it's one thing to be proud of your body, but
right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on. I don't know, man. I see it. It's even like Halloween, for example. Halloween is an excuse for a girl to dress like a slut because they all do it. You see them walking around, they're in lingerie, shredded fishnets, half naked, nipples poking out, butt cracks sticking out, booty cheeks hanging down. It's like, you would never do this in any other venue ever in the world, except it's the Halloween excuse, So I find that kind of funny that, you take an otherwise demure woman and stick her in a Halloween, setting, and all of a sudden, caution goes to the wind and she'll put on or take off almost anything. It's the most bizarre thing.
Man, so Scatman says, if you're in a hotel or boat and notice an upside down pineapple on the door, they're swingers. How did the pineapple get roped into this? Like, how do we decide?
Like a real pineapple hanging upside down on your door?
Or maybe it's like I don't know, maybe it's like a picture or something like, I don't know, or something you put on a do not disturb card, or maybe it means disturb. I don't know.
So when you see the upside down pineapple, you just walk in the room and have sex with who's ever in there? Is that how it works?
Or that's a good question. But I mean, listen,
answer that. Scatman would know, right?
Yeah, come on, man. You got to hook us up. You're the But also, yeah. How come so what happens if you forgot your pineapple or and all you have is like I don't know, another fruit? What if you put that out there? Is it like people are like, no, fuck them. Like we can't go hang out with them. They put an apple out there.
I heard from a very good friend of mine, and who I trust is telling me the truth, but I cannot verify this, that in Germany, somewhere in Germany, every year they have this festival where it's kind of like a carnival. You're walking around on the street and there's people doing shit and everything, and it's kind of very adult toned. And the guys have to wear a tie, like around their neck. You don't have to wear a t-shirt. You wear a loose tie. And if a girl comes up to you with a scissor and cuts your necktie, you go and have sex with her. You don't even know her name. The next day, it's like it never happened. It's like this brief removal from reality for a moment to go do something that you could never, ever do, and then you go back to real life like it never happened. Man. And apparently this is very popular.
Also,
but I don't know for sure.
Better pick well, that's the other thing. What if you want a tie that's going to make you look good, but you also don't want the one that you spent a lot of money on? I mean, there's a lot. See, I overthink all this stuff. That's the thing with
Do you
me.
have any? Do you have any ties?
I think one or two, and they're in like the costume bucket for like like for
Death
Halloween.
race.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Kids, I
No,
need a tie for the death race.
I haven't worn a tie in in one, here's why I've never liked it, but a very successful business a guy that I know, business mogul, out of nowhere we're chatting, and I was actually interviewing him for something, and he's like, I stopped wearing ties, and I was like, that's all I needed to hear to give me permission to not wear a tie anymore. So,
I in another life, I had a job where I had to wear a suit every day, and
really?
yeah, and
What?
I kind of dug it because I was into fashion for a minute, and I had to wear a tie every day, and I grew to hate it. There was just something about conforming to this kind of uniform that men have to wear that's been unchanged literally for a couple hundred years. I mean, what's with the suit? What do you got to wear a tie for? What does that do? It's a useless adornment. It doesn't do anything. It just hangs there and gets in the way and gets stained if you're a sloppy eater. So I got to the point where I would actually watch myself put the tie on in the mirror and loathe the experience, to the point where I just stopped wearing them. I wore these like Mandarin collar shirts that had no, lapel on it. It was just a button up. Jim Mannion used to do it. I got the idea from him. So I started doing that. I never wore a tie again. And you know what? No one ever said anything, ever. Now,
No.
if I have to wear a jacket, it's over a t-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I just can't picture you wearing a tie. Also, having to get a designer beanie to go with your with your
Well,
outfits.
those were pre beanie days because
Ah,
I had a lot of hair, and I didn't ride my motorcycles as much as I do now. So the helmet liner was never necessary. So um, this is really a helmet liner. It's not really a beanie. Look at it that way.
we don't we have somebody who doesn't like us named Dale Gribble. He says the show is atrocious, and I thanked him and let him know we're well aware. But also, well, why not try to make it better by asking something pertinent? We don't even know how we landed on this topic. I don't even know how. You know what I mean? We kind of just ended up getting here from somebody else's comments. So, Dale, we'll talk about anything.
You know how I know he's a liar?
How?
He's watching the show.
Oh, all right.
So
That's
why
true.
are you watching us if we're atrocious? Shut us off. I mean, go do
Yeah.
something else. Go jerk off. I mean, like, what's the point? I mean, what's the point of telling us, of lying to us and the community by saying our show is atrocious? Why are you watching it? Why? Go
I
watch
mean, I'm
something.
learning something right now. Like Scatman's telling me that there's a beach in Sweden where you can wear different color armbands for different type of couple swaps. I had no idea. Like but I'm curious as to
Like
what some
pie
of
in
those
Germany.
colors would mean. Imagine if you forgot your go-to color. And you're like, oh my
Mm.
God, like what are you gonna do then? Oh my goodness. What's up, Bill Roman? First time watching. Cool, man. Thanks. Yeah, listen, here's the other thing. We talked about a lot today. We talked about Sustanon, whether that's a good thing to take. We've talked about the Mr. Olympia. We've talked about Strong New York. We've
Patch.
talked about calorie deficits. We've talked about different types of dieting. So that's what I mean. If we'll talk about anything, so it doesn't have to be bodybuilding related at all.
Or even
Let's
health
see.
related.
Jay Lovesy says no bodybuilding, but strongman. Can you believe now we're talking about people deadlifting 500 kilograms almost like it's normal? They try to lift 500 at the Vegas
I
show
got a
past weekend.
girl in my gym who deadlifted 450 the other day.
Jesus.
450, a girl. So, I mean, it's insane the strength people are able to put down these days.
Okay, but tell me this then. When I used to watch the things on ESPN, like those competitions, how much further ahead are we now? I just don't remember the exact weights of stuff that they would actually lift, but they would be on TV all the time. I'm curious how far we've come.
Well, we seem to have slowed down a little. I think the world record deadlift is like 1,160 pounds, something like that. I think the world record bench is about that, assisted, not raw. And I think squatting is well over 1,000 pounds now also. So the three main power lifts have all broken the 1,000 pound barrier, which didn't really happen officially until somewhere in the early 2000s, I think. I know Jimmy the Bull was the first guy to ever unrack 1,000 pounds and bring it down on a bench press. And it's debatable as to whether or not he completed that rep, but it was actually over. The math didn't work out. It was actually 1,015 by the time you were able to, calculate the weights on it.
So does he say he did it and other people say he didn't, or how does that work?
Well, there's people that always Jimmy has a very unique lifting style. He doesn't do like a full rep. So in a bench press, he only brings it down maybe like halfway and then, muscles it up the rest of the way.
Okay.
You can bitch and moan all you want about the form, the officialness of the lift, etc. But I defy any of you to put on a tank top and get under 750 pounds and unrack it. He would do reps with 750 in a tank top, or whatever is close to 750 in the York barbell thing. I don't remember the exact weight, but 775, I think it is, whatever it is, that you can get close to 750. He would do that in a tank top. He wouldn't put on a bench shirt till he got in the 800s. So,
jeez.
This is a strong dude. You want to argue over his form? You want to argue over the legitimacy of his lift? Go ahead. The bottom line is he laid down underneath 1,000 pounds and unracked it and brought it down. That's a death sentence if you do that the wrong way. I have a video of a girl doing it. Remember the video I showed you guys of the girl on the Smith machine that had 4 plates on each side, and she was going to do a box squat under a bench, and she unracked it and fell forward, and the bar hit her back here and killed her. I mean, this is legitimately lethal weight you're playing with. And you can, like I said, you can argue the legitimacy of his lifts all you want. He is the guy who broke the barrier, the 1,000-pound barrier, and made it attainable for the other guys who came along 15 years later to get a legitimate 1,000-pound bench. So, you can't discount it. You just can't. It's a legit attempt.
This is an interesting question from Bill. Bill Roman says, "You guys, I deal with neuropathy. I have pain in the palms of my hands and my feet. Can you recommend a workout even with the pain?" My mom has dealt with that since the mid 90s. So I know the type of pain that he's talking about, and it is incredibly uncomfortable. She was never really one to be, exercise. So that wasn't something that we ever discussed, but I wouldn't even know where to start with that, to be honest.
Well, you have to understand what the nerve pain is. And generally, nerve pain is caused by something pressing on the nerve. It could be a disc, it could, a bulging disc, a herniated disc, a fractured muscle, a bone spur, an adhesion. It could be almost anything that is putting pressure on the nerve that causes pain. So what you have to do is you have to narrow that down. You have to find out where this impingement is happening and figure out how to relieve it. If it's a muscle adhesion, that can be broken up with deep tissue massage. If it's a bulging disc, that can be remedied with traction or, a stem cell. My wife just got stem cells injected in her spine to fix her a disc herniation that she has. And I mean, she's been in pain.
Painful. Yeah.
I was sitting right there with her when she got it. It really wasn't. But
no,
they stuck a 6-inch long needle, thin needle, insulin gauge needle, into her. I couldn't believe how far that was going in. I thought it was going to come out the other side. Yeah, it was definitely a balls up in the back of your neck kind of feeling. But 2 other guys I know that have gotten the same thing done have both gotten relief in 3 months. So I'm holding out a lot of hope for this. She's been in pain, I'm not even going to attempt to say it. Neuropathy kind of pain for December 2nd will be a full year. So yeah, she's at the end of her wits now dealing with this, because what happens is you get better. Healing is never a linear experience. It always goes up and down. You get better, you get worse, you get better, you get worse until you're finally better. or maybe you're never better. It depends on the injury and the damage it's done. But the relapses are psychologically demoralizing. I mean, she's going along thinking she's doing great, and healing, and she's on the path to recovery. She's getting her physique back. She's all excited about that. She picked up a 10-pound dumbbell 2 weeks ago in the gym on a Saturday, and just she was at the wrong angle, at the wrong movement, at the wrong leverage point, and tweaked her back again. And now she can't even drive a car. So,
this goes to show too, 10 pounds, right? Like doesn't take much, man. It doesn't, that's the thing. It really can be that devastating when
a sneeze. Sucks. How many of you guys have sneezed and thrown their back out? I mean,
I do know a couple, actually.
Yeah, I've done it myself. I've sneezed my back in a spasm. I mean, it's definitely happened. So, that's the one thing about youth that is totally, completely not realized for its benefit when you're young. When you're young, you are made of rubber. You are absolutely indestructible until you're somewhere in your early 30s. And once you hit past that barrier, man, every little thing fucking hurts, and you can't understand why. So we had this, I'll give you a perfect example. We had this monster hurricane Helene that blew through here, okay? I have trees down, I have branches down, limbs snapped, all kinds of shit upside down, a mess everywhere. And I'm walking through the property for the last 3 days, pulling limbs out of the river, pulling, tree branches, put them in a pile, waiting. I pile them up and then call the guy with the chipper, and he comes and turns them into mulch. But I have an 80-foot oak tree that fell over. It's, how much branches that is? So I'm moving all these branches, and then 2 days of that, I'm like, God, I'm sore. Everything hurts. I didn't miss a day in the gym. I didn't miss any of my normal workout activity. I didn't miss any of my other activity, but I moved branches for 2 days, and now I'm almost crippled. I mean, why? I'm not strong,
But here, that's listen, when I do things at Death Race, that's exactly what happens. When I'm crawling around, crawling through mud, or, picking up buckets full of rocks or something, or, one time we had to take, they filled it with water, and it was like a bag, almost looked like a wreck bag filled with water. And I got to tell you, just because of the instability, and there was a bunch of us, it was probably I think it was around 400 pounds, right? So, but it wasn't full all the way. So if somebody was slacking, this thing would tilt, and you'd have to kind of brace yourself to get it. But the soreness that I felt just from doing those things, and I know it's consistent, throughout the day or whatever, or throughout however many hours. But yeah, dude, it's not like I'm there lifting heavy things all the time. It's like, it's just like you said, man, sometimes just doing that is just an act. It destroys you.
Yeah. And it's the weirdest things that do it too. Like, you would never imagine, like my wife with the 10-pound dumbbell. Who in the world would have thought that grabbing a 10-pound dumbbell off the rack would cause a back, re-injure her back? I mean, you don't think of that. You just don't. But what happens when you cross that line and you move into the older phase of your life, you have to be really, really conscious of how you lift shit up. You can't just grab something offhand to the side like this. You just can't do that. You gotta anticipate every single movement as a lift, and you have to approach it. You have to be square to it. You have to bend, use your knees, your legs, all the stuff you read. You got to do it that way, because if not, I can't tell you why, but you're gonna pay for it.
Jay Levsey came up with, and I hope I'm saying your name right, dude. I'm reading it, so I don't know, but I hope
everybody's got difficult names. You ever notice that? Listen, where are the Bobs?
Even I see Bill Roman, and I'm like, man, is it Bill Roman? Like, I don't know. I just second guess everything when I'm reading it on a screen anymore. But Jay had a really good point about maybe checking out Pilates, because that's what it was actually designed and created for, right? Was he put people with spinal issues, and I remember reading about that. But it's the thing is, it's not something that I would have thought about right away. But man, I've heard a lot about how not only is it challenging, but it can be really helpful for people with mobility issues.
Well, one of the core elements of Pilates is stretching. And man, I used to think stretching was the dumbest thing in the world until I crossed that line. And I got to stretch every day now. I have a little routine that I do at night on the floor in the bedroom that, concentrates on my hamstrings. Those are the tightest muscles. For some reason, older people have the tightest hamstrings. I don't know why, but it's ubiquitous. And you just got to pay attention to it. And also, anytime you use a muscle that you haven't used in a while and you feel that soreness, the next day or 2 days, stretching it really helps. It really does. And I think like I said, I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. I'd never waste my time or energy doing it. But now it's religion. I do it every single day. And if I don't, I notice it. So
Yeah.
it's one piece of advice I can give you guys is start stretching.
But isn't that like kind of go back to what we talked about before with, you got to try things for yourself, right? Because you were like, that's stupid, waste of time. I don't need it. And then you try it and you're like, you know what? It worked for me. Whereas other people would say, doesn't work for fine, but you know what?
True.
You don't know unless you try it. And it was kind of like the same thing. And I know it's different, but I had trained by myself forever. Never had a training partner. Never did anything. And then when I moved here back to when I started to work in Manhattan when I moved from LA, I met somebody that was running group fitness, and they were running it with a very anybody could show up, but it was really a lot of driven and fit people. And it made me realize, wow, I got to step up my game. You know what I mean? Like I really want to get in better shape. So in that sense, it really helped me. But before that, I'm like, and that's the thing. I don't do CrossFit or anything like that. It was just people getting together and training together. So that was pretty cool. And so I get it. It's like I blew it off until I did it. And I'm like, you know what? It can be beneficial if you're with the right group of folks that wants to, push you and not necessarily belittle you. Yeah.
I think it's also the fanatic element that you either have or you don't. It's like every single sport I've tried, had to become a fanatic at it. When I was rock climbing, I was a fanatic. I went all the time. All my shit was dedicated to it. It's all I read about. It's all I watched. It's all I listened to. The only people I hung out with, all rock climbing. When I was, rollerblading, it was like only rollerbladers. It's all I did is rollerblade up and down Venice Beach, all the way to Manhattan Beach and back, and all of that shit. That's all I did. It was my only form of cardio. It's what I did. Then I got into bike riding, and I rode my bicycle all over the place, and it was only bicycling. It's all I did. I did these mammoth, 50-mile bike rides, 100-mile bike rides, rode from LA to Oxnard and back. I mean, I became a fanatic at all of it. And what happens is when you do that, you ultra stress the musculature that supports that. And you really do end up with, fixated problems that are unique to that particular thing. What I'm getting at here, the long way around, is variety. You really have to have variety in your physical pursuits, because if you don't, you're going to get too cemented into one thing. Your body's going to adapt to that. And the second you try something else, you're going to have problems. So I do a smattering of everything that you enjoy, and rather than fanatic off into becoming, specific to one element, because if you ever do anything else, you're going to pay for it. I promise. It's the truth.
You want to go back to one more Terminator Juice follow-up question? Because this seems like something that you could definitely speak to. Said, thoughts on DECA only cycle for fat loss and muscle gain without having the gyno issue. Can I ask something too? So is that associated with gyno or no? It's not. Okay.
No. Okay. All right. Where to start?
Why does this? Okay. But you seem like, I don't want to say irritated, but you seem like,
not irritated. It's like saying, why doesn't my car work if I'm squeezing this thing? So it's they're just unrelated. Okay. So fat loss or fat storage, as we talked about in the beginning of the show, is completely dependent on calories in, calorie expenditure, calories in, calories out. That is absolutely it when it comes to fat loss. Now, are there drugs and substances that you can take that'll increase lipolysis or fat burning? Absolutely. Do they do it at a demonstrative level that you can, like Ozempic, for example? No, they're not. DECA is not a fat burning drug. DECA is an anabolic steroid. So is there some fat burning associated with anabolics? Yes. Is it a potent weight loss drug? No, it's not. It is an anabolic steroid. It's going to help you grow muscle. So to take it for fat loss is like taking vitamin C to grow hair. It just doesn't do it. There's no correlation.
Okay,
So
so then what would somebody take a DECA only cycle for?
purely aesthetic reasons. DECA is known to lubricate joints. So if you have dry joints, joint pain, joint issues, DECA is a good drug to take versus something like Winstrol that dries your joints out. So if you have joint pain, the last thing in the world you want to take is Winstrol because that's only going to increase your joint pain. If you have sore joints, DECA may possibly help you. But as a standalone drug, it's a great. I mean, it's better than nothing. You put it that way. I mean, if you're trying to increase muscle mass and maybe change your body composition to a more favorable outcome, DECA can definitely help you. It's certainly better than nothing, but it's also better than some other drugs. But it is not the drug that you're just going to take and get shredded off of. It's just not going to work that way.
Yeah. Okay. We got one more. Now James. James. I like this. James is now battling Terminator Juice to see who can come up with a question. So this is good. I like this. Just kidding, James. Thoughts on test an Anavar cycle for a beginner trying to get ripped for next summer? Now, can I ask you a question about? I sometimes get confused. As a lot of people know, I'm doing my best to keep up with this. John is certainly the expert in this, and I am but a Padawan learner here. Anavar, isn't that one that you've kind of advised against numerous times? Like you don't have positive things to say about it?
No. Anavar is a great drug.
What's the one that you don't like? There's one that you really dislike.
I don't like Winstrol. I don't like that one at all. Okay. I don't. There's a few of them. Sten. I don't like Sten. I don't like. There's a bunch. I'm a very, very, very narrow-minded, old school guy when it comes to drugs. There's stuff that works and there's stuff that doesn't work. And if you want to have some kind of economy of time, money, energy, and resources, don't do the stuff that's questionable. Do the stuff that works. So, go back to this question: Anavar and testosterone to get what? Fat loss again? Are we getting ripped again on steroids? It just doesn't work that way. Getting ripped has nothing to do with the drugs you're taking. Getting ripped has everything to do with the food you're eating. Does the drugs you're taking have any effect whatsoever on your fat loss? Yes, but it's ancillary. It's like because you can train harder, because you can go longer, but you can, not feel as hungry because you can train harder. You can do more cardio. Those are the things that drugs allow you to do. Recover faster so you can hit it again harder. If you're going to get any fat loss, it's from those reasons because you're expending more. The drugs allow you to expend more calories is the easiest thing to say.
So I remember but I remember the substance I had before I forget. It's called it's the one you say it's like a female steroid or something.
Yeah, Anavar's. We call it a girl drug because it's so mild.
I feel like you've definitely said. I feel like you're not as high on it as other things.
No, not because it's so weak. So it's a very weak steroid with almost zero side effects. That taken in high enough doses for guys is beneficial, but you got to take the problem I have with it is it's hard to get real Anavar, oxandrolone. It's hard to get, and it's expensive. So the normal dose a girl's going to take is, 10, 20 milligrams at the most, sometimes 30 at the outside. A guy needs minimum 50. That's 5 pills at maybe $2 a piece, $10 a day. That's $300 a month, just an Anavar. Okay, so that's for some guys that's expensive, and what you got to really, it's on top of everything else. So you're spending X amount on this, you're spending X amount on that, the food, all the other stuff that you're supplements, all the other stuff you're piling on every month. You can get up to over $1,000 a month really fast in just the drugs and supplements and, food that you're eating. So I would probably say 1,000 is conservative. You're going to throw food in the mix too.
Jeez.
So that's a lot of money, man. And,
Yeah.
for a lot of especially young guys just starting out, it's just not conceivable. You can't, I mean, they're probably barely making 2-3 grand a month at the most. And you're going to spend half of that on bodybuilding. That's fucking nuts.
Yeah. Okay. I was trying to get to. Scatman was saying that women get Anavar voice, and I'm just trying to
No,
figure out
no,
what.
no, 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 no. The deep voice does not come from Anavar. The worst for women's voice is Winstrol. That'll turn your voice into Darth Vader almost overnight. Testosterone also, has that voice deepening effect. Anavar, not at all. I have never, ever in 35 years found a girl that got their voice deepened from taking only Anavar. Never.
All right. Jay has, I don't know these, stenbolone or anatrofin. Do you know what they are? I don't either. I mean,
Nope.
I'm not shocked I don't.
Stenbolone? I know what Sten is. I don't know what
Okay,
Stenbolone
Sten.
is.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think he was. Yeah, that's what he said earlier. I don't know what is Sten.
It's a steroid.
Okay.
A highly androgenic steroid that's extremely liver toxic.
Okay, so that's one that you'd say.
Nope, don't need it.
Okay, interesting. And the other one, is it the same thing? Anatrofin?
I have never heard of that.
All right, so I could say
It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means I've never heard of it. I don't know everything. Sorry, guys.
No, I understand. No, I mean, look, it's not that. It's not that I'm saying it doesn't exist. I was just,
I rather say I don't know than bullshit you. So
Right.
I mean, I'm very happy to say I don't know.
No, of course, dude. Listen. I'd also rather you say that rather than lead me and everyone else down some road. Like,
I'm not gonna bullshit you.
Okay, Scatman didn't say deeper voice. Said it sounds like their throat is clogged.
It's effect on their voice. So it comes from the vocal cords becoming thicker, and the thicker your vocal cords, the deeper your voice. So and again, once again, this is individual dependent. Some people have a greater propensity for these side effects than others. Aggression is a great example of that. Some guys, you give them 100 cc's of 100 milligrams of testosterone, and they're ready to rip everybody's head off. You give another guy 3 times that much, and he's as docile as a church mouse. So it's all depends on the individual. If a girl has a genetic propensity to have thicker vocal cords by virtue of this compound coming in, it's going to happen at a greater degree than the person than compared to the girl who doesn't. So any effect on the vocal cords by virtue of thickening, it starts out, it sounds a little hoarse. It sounds out like they're trying to force their voice out a little bit, maybe laryngitis sounding, and then it gradually progresses to the point where their voice gets deeper. And that is completely dependent on the receptor affinity for the drug that they're taking.
Okay. Now, Scatman brought up 2 more things I don't know. I think that my brain could blow up at this point because now there's just substance after substance that I don't know. So he said test masterone, is that one, and cabergoline to burn off gyno gland. I mean, boy, oh boy, I don't.
No.
Well, can we start with what those substances are first, and then kind of go back to the question? Because I mean, that's part of the interesting things for me is learning what these things are and also how to say them, because I clearly don't know.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. Okay, right. Cabergoline is a drug that brings down your level of prolactin. So if your blood work shows you have high prolactin, right, it probably means that your mammary glands, boys have mammary glands, believe it or not, are being stimulated. And that can cause irritation, it can cause the gland to grow, and that's what gives you gynecomastia, aka bitch tits. So it's just breast growth in men. And you see, I mean, I've seen it a ton. What's funny is you go backstage at a board short, the board short class, which is supposed to be the least muscled, and you have the most cases of gyno that you can pick, from the guys who are supposed to do the least amount of drugs. That's kind of funny. Most bodybuilders get their mammary glands taken out. They get the surgery. I've had it done. Everybody I know has had it done. You just take them out. It's the best way to deal with gyno. But cabergoline can bring down elevated levels of prolactin, which can stimulate milk production or stimulate the gland under your nipple to irritate it or get it bigger. What was the other drug you mentioned? Cabergoline, and what was the other one?
It was Masterone.
Masterone is basically used at the tail end of contest prep to make you harder, to make your body muscles appear harder and more dense. I've never heard of it used as a combative element for gynecomastia. So if there's new research out there that states that, I haven't read it. I don't know about it. But the best remedy for gyno is surgery.
Right. That's what Chad on the Road just wrote in. Because honestly, that's the only thing I've heard of. I was surprised to hear about specific substances that would get rid of it, because I feel like if that were the case, that's what everybody would do instead of just getting the surgery, right?
Well, I mean, you try to run out the easy fixes first. I mean, a lot of guys will try taking Nolvadex to battle gyno, or a combination of cabergoline and that to combat gyno. But if you have a little bit of irritation, you don't touch it, you leave it alone, and you take some, I've seen it work. I've seen it work in guys who don't irritate it anymore by messing with it, and they take Nolvadex and cabergoline, or just Nolvadex, and it seems to go away. But it doesn't go completely away. As soon as you get on cycle again, it comes back. The best solution in this case is I wouldn't even try any of that shit. If you have irritated mammary glands, you can feel tenderness under your nipple and you think it looks swollen. If you get really lean, you can see your nipples sticking out. Go get it cut out. There's nothing that's going to be better for you than that.
How long did the surgery keep you on the shelf?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay. And it's
quick. It was so mild. It's not invasive. It's under the skin. You're not breaking into the muscle. You're not cutting into muscle. You're not getting into the body cavity. It's a very superficial, quick surgery, and it's a godsend. It made so much difference. I was so happy I got it done.
Nice. That's interesting. Chad was saying the same thing. He doesn't remember, but he had it in his left nipple, and it was removed by plastic surgeon. Plastic surgeon. Gosh. Easy for me to say.
Dr. Blau, best guy in the world that does it. Mordecai Blau in New York.
Covered by insurance or no?
Nope, not covered by insurance. Although these days you might be able to say, get a doctor to say it might be cancerous if it comes back. That I don't know, but it's considered a cosmetic procedure, and it's out of pocket, but it's worth every penny. Let me tell you.
What do you think the ballpark is? I mean, you've had it done a while ago, so maybe that's changed and probably increased, but what do you think it cost?
I think in the 1,500 range, and that might have been 10 years ago, so I don't know. It could be higher now, but
that's not, I mean,
I think it depends.
I got LASIK, so.
Well, I think it also depends if it's done in the doctor's office or if it's done at a surgical center, if you're going under general anesthesia or not. I went under general anesthesia, so I cost more right off the bat. That was an extra 500 right on top. So, look, you will spend untold amounts of money on food, drugs, supplements, workout gear, gym memberships, ancillary shit, tanning, all that crap. It's just another expense that goes with the deal. I mean, if you're going to be if you aspire to be a top level bodybuilder, you are more than, and use drugs like all top level bodybuilders do, you are more than likely going to have your gyno cut out like most bodybuilders have done. I really don't know any that haven't had it done. Honestly, I don't know any top level guy that hasn't had their gyno cut out.
All right. It's a good place to end. We've gone on for an hour and a half. Wow. Yeah, I got a meeting at 12. We'll come back Thursday. We do this Tuesdays, Thursdays. We're going to be back Thursday. come hang out, come toss some questions, and even the people that didn't like us, come help us make this slightly less awful, if you don't mind. You know,
Yeah,
that would be
if you
fun.
really hate us that much, make sure you watch next week because we're going to do something you're really going to hate.
We're really gonna crank up the awfulness. So get ready. But no, thanks for everybody. Thanks James, and thanks
Yeah.
Testosterone Juice, Terminator Juice, and Scatman, and Chad in the Road. Thank you guys. We'll be back, and thank you, Jay. I almost forgot. Jeez,
Yeah.
listen, this is nice that there's so many people that I'm
Yeah.
forgetting. That's
Thank all
awesome.
of you guys. And I hope my answers to your questions have helped you.
Yeah, now I gotta now I have to jotted down a few more of these. Now I have to go learn more about them because I'm because I'm like, golly, geez, there's just so many. There's so many different things to learn. Gosh, it's a lot.
Yeah, this is not, people think lifting weights is easy. Pick it up, put it back down. But once you delve into the real deal about what bodybuilding is all about, it's not easy. It's very complicated, and it is one of the. I will tell you this. I have heard this from all kinds of people: doctors, lawyers, professional people, business owners, soldiers, you name it. And every single one has told me that getting ready for a bodybuilding competition, the real deal, is the most difficult thing they have ever done. So, and I'll second that. It is the most difficult thing I have ever done. So, if you have any designs on getting good at this, be prepared for the difficulty involved because it ain't easy.
Yeah, the most difficult thing for me is that Rubik's Cube. I still haven't figured it out. All right, see you Thursday, everybody. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.